It will be another day with the out of the box experience with us. So, we'll get into a lot of shit. I have a lot of things on my mind. But
sounds good.
Yeah, it'll be a dump. It'll be a mind dump for sure. But yeah, on that note, I keep saying that keeps being like my tagline now.
On that note. It's your catchphrase.
It's gonna be. I should change it to something more suiting to my nickname. Like, on that wave.
On that wave. Bruh.
What's yours?
I don't know if I have one.
It has to be something to do with Bambi the movie.
Bruh. Has to be something to do with
that traumatic experience.
Bruh. With that death.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Speaking of death.
Bruh. I mean, we will get into that for sure.
Let's get into a little topic before we intro. Because now you just brought up the idea of death. And we don't know what's going to happen after death. Right? Which is
But do we know what happens before life?
That too, right? Is it just a cycle of itself? That's why I like isekais a lot. Because they take that... Because every time it's an isekai, there's always, most of the time, it's always a death instance, right?
Yeah.
Someone dies, and then they get brought into a new world. That
Transported,
could be. That could be.
Reincarnation type.
Yeah. Because we never know. Or maybe, their whole... Because, evolution can kind of explain why we see what we see, how we vision things, why we've been created the way we are. Right? So, maybe, that whole evolutionary process gets, transferred into a new world, and you're still seeing the same shit maybe, but your whole perception of everything is different.
Yeah.
In a sense. We gotta fight the demon. Kind of like a Don Quixote thing. I honestly didn't learn about him until a Spanish class, and it was just a synopsis of it.
Yeah.
And so I did a bigger, I haven't read the book, but I did a bigger synopsis on it. But the whole premise was that this was not during the medieval times. This was during more, not modern times, but 1800s.
Okay.
Medieval times had passed.
Yeah.
We're not quite into the modern era. But he goes on this deranged delusion that he's a knight, and he goes and fights windmills thinking they're monsters and enemies.
Okay.
So it kind of it seems like a schizo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like schizophrenia kind of thing, but at the same time
you don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We've never been in that mindset. And just like that, let's try and get into mine.
All right.
So with that, we're doing this out of box experience today. We'll try and dive into our minds a little bit and just dump it out.
Sounds good.
But with that, let's do it. It's your boy Maui.
And your boy Bambi.
And this is Couch Surfing. Out of the box experience.
Let's go.
So, is it weird to talk to a dancer? I don't think so. In the sense that, I have no intention of, not in that way. I don't ever have any intentions of going to those kind of places anyways. But, yeah, I work at a bar, you know that. I work at 2, actually. And I saw one of them I already recognized. So I've met her before.
Yeah.
And, pretty interesting. So... Yeah, she gave me her number, which was interesting, right?
Well, I don't think...
But it was weird, because that wasn't the first time I met her.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So I met her when we were all throwing a pool kickback. We do that, and everyone invites all their friends. So my roommate invites his friends, family. My brother invites his friends, family. Yeah. I do the same if I ever feel like it. But, it was just a big gathering, and one of the friends was her.
Okay.
So I met her before. She's a little wild, especially when she drinks.
Yeah.
And she was the same at the bar. But I worked, it was last week.
Okay.
Last Sunday. And I recognized her immediately, but I couldn't tell from where. I was I know I've seen her before. I just don't know where. I was is it from the other bar? No, that doesn't seem right. Is it from... I was soccer? I'm no. Basketball? No. I was just rattling everything in my mind. It literally took me 15 minutes while I was doing my work. I went, oh, I remember now, and it just all started coming back to me. And in that moment, it was weird. Right when I figured it out, she finally panned towards because she was literally sitting right in front of my dish pit. She like looked up and she's like, did one of these like, and I just had like this big ass smile on my face because I was like, she remembers, or she kind of recognizes me too, and it became that moment. She's like, I know you, and I know you too, you know. And she's like, where though? And I'm like, guess, because I already knew.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta guess, because she was doing the same thing. She was like, was it from X? I'm like, nope. Was it from Y? Nope. Was it from Z? I'm like, nope. She's like, can you just tell me? I'm like, do you, because there's not a lot of people with pools in this area.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember going to like a pool party like a month ago or this and that? She was like, and she was like kind of starting to put the pieces together and like finally figured it out. I'm like, yeah, that was me. She's like, yeah, but why do I remember you the most? And I kind of know why that too. She was like, and I was like, I didn't want to allude to it because again, it's kind of, that makes me feel conceited when I do. But she was like, I was just going to let her figure it out because I was like, I'm not going to put any thoughts in her head. She was like, no, she was like, you're the one who was like the coolest. And I was like, oh, bet. I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what I mean? And she wasn't trying to be like, she was just like, you didn't try to hit on me and like you weren't trying to get at me like all the
you're just a trainer
like everybody else
person,
was like you were just cool, you had a cool soul, and I was like that was the best compliment.
Yeah,
like you could call me the coolest person, and that's cool. Everyone always gets that compliment, but saying your soul is cool,
yeah,
I'm like I'll take that all day long. Hell yeah. So yeah, so that same night, you know, she got pretty wild.
Yeah,
too much. And I hung around later than like my hours because we were all hanging outside of the bar. And I just wanted to make sure she was safe. Because at this point, she's a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
She's pretty much my friend now. So like there was like a couple of guys just like roaming around. And I was like, these guys are like acting hella fucking sus.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just like stuck around because she was with a group too. And they were all kind of drunk. And I was just like, okay. You know, I just want to make sure that they get home safe, or they get to their place safe, or they get into the Uber safe.
Yeah,
These fools are just standing here awkwardly, right? The group was just having their fun, kick back. They let me join in and chill and talk. And then there's just the 3 or 4 guys just standing there,
around
awkwardly. Not even talking to each other. They're just like standing there. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
You know? So once they finally got going, once they finally got going, I finally left too. But yeah, she gave me her number. So I texted her that same night to make sure she got home safe. She didn't text me back. So this was again last Sunday. This is ago. She texted me back this morning.
What?
Yeah. She's like, who is this again? And I was like, oh. So like I tried explaining to her who I am. And like
it didn't work.
It wasn't working. So I was like, all right, like I just went with like, well, yeah, you might have not remembered, or like maybe I got the wrong number. Like, let's just disregard this. She's like, all right, well. And I'm still in the conversation, so I'm just leaving it be for now. But like, well, send a picture. Let me see if I can remember. And I'm like,
no,
I haven't responded yet. I probably will later, but
okay.
Because I think she will recognize. She recognized it.
At the bar, yeah.
While like semi-intoxicated, because she wasn't that gone yet.
So she should, yeah.
Those White Claws get to you, man.
Right.
She was sipping on. She was drinking a lot of those, and you could just see her like getting a little more wild and wild. She's very free spirited, and her free spirit was just flying. You know? Just wild. Yeah, dude. Working at the bar, you run into and you meet a lot of cool,
interesting people.
Separate, sometimes together. They're cool and interesting. They're cool and interesting. Some are cool, some are interesting.
Yeah.
And then you get the assholes too.
Like the sus people and shit.
Pot. Yeah, it's a mixing pot. But it's always a fun night.
Have you ever had that instance where like someone was like too drunk and you guys had to kick them out?
Oh, all the time. It's so obvious.
It's probably all like 21-year-olds or something.
Yeah, or I wouldn't say alcoholics. No, but like people who just like they just keep drinking beyond their limit, and they'll like stumble to the bar, like just obviously, or they'll like start slumping on the bar.
Or like sleeping.
Like the tells of them are just so obliviously obvious. Like even people who are like standing in the crowds, you can tell. They're like sloshing and they're like trying to like keep themselves together, or they're like leaning on someone really heavily. Like there's always easy like tells. It's hard to get the subtle ones though, who are like. But once they start talking, then you can
tell that they're slurring.
They're slurring their words, or they're trying to like. can I get a vodka? And then, they start losing like their train of thought.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of things. It's like it's really easy gives.
But I feel like it's cool to people watch at a bar. I don't know.
It's a lot of. You always have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Like there's always something going on.
Like,
even on like slow days.
Yeah.
There's always at least one incident. At least.
Like it must, like for people who don't drink, I guess it's weird that people watch someone who's drunk. But when you like drink and kind of know what they're like going through in a sense, it's like funny.
Well, there's like two types of like bar people that I always like attest to, because like I've worked at multiple bars now. So there's the ones that like kind of like abstain from drinking like a lot because of what they've seen, or because of how they used to be. Because like there's a few bartenders I know, even from like the bars in Arizona, where they were like, yeah, I used to get super wild. Like,
and now
I was out of control, and I had to cut myself off because it was so unhealthy for me, this and that. Like, everyone hated me. I was a piece of shit. It's like, well, that's good that you figured that out.
Yeah.
For me, I don't drink. I've always never. I had like I've had my wild years where I like drinking like just nonstop. But it was a small phase. It wasn't like a long-term thing. It was like short power phase, and then like I was like, this ain't me. But like I still drink. I'm not like abstaining from it completely, but I don't go heavy anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like 1-2 beers tops. Like just something to like
just
keep it light. Yeah. Keep me like I don't do it to like get social. I just do it because I don't mind the taste of beer. I like the taste of beer. And it's like. I don't know. It's a bottle in hand is like easier to have than I don't know.
Yeah, or just like
a plastic cup of water is always annoying. It's just annoying.
Yeah, or like a cold one on a hot day.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's always that like stigma to like bar working. Like, oh, you can't make it in the bar. You can't make it through life. I see the hell of people make more money than like.
Yeah, I mean, you get a bunch of tips and stuff. And
you just have to find the right bars to work at. You just have to be that personality to go to. And that's why people go to those bars. First it's the atmosphere and the people who go in, but like to get those people in, you have to have a good staff.
Yeah.
If you don't have good bartenders, if you don't have a good like staff,
if you don't have a good staff or like a good culture, or like
even the security. Like it's a security. Like security has to do their job. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if they're like overly aggressive, completely just douchebag assholes, no one wants to go because no one wants to get hassled or harassed for nothing or for things that are very menial.
Yeah.
But like. I don't know. I think it's like one of the professions where you can like get through California.
Yeah, I mean, I've met.
It's just not conventional.
Yeah, I've met a bunch of people who've worked at bars, and it's like either they do it on the side or it's just something that they just do.
Yeah. I have like again, even in the bar industry itself, I've seen like both sides of it where they're like, you don't want to stay in here forever. Like, it's not the career you want. And I've had people being like, I could do this all my life.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like perspective. Like some people are just not into the scene and they hate being around it, but it's good money. And then there's other people who just love it because everyone's always having a good, like 90% of the time, everyone's having a good time, and you're being that reason for being a good time.
Yeah. It's just, I guess it's different because a lot of people are just like go to school, do blah blah blah. But it's like, I mean.
That's the thing. That's where it becomes like the unconventionality is like, I don't know if that's a word, but we'll make it a word. But like that's like the textbook like path to success.
Yeah.
But it's not my definition of success. But like the I guess the cultural, societal like success path.
Yeah. Or
it's the most mainstream path.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call it success. I would just say stability maybe more than success. I feel like most people just get to their first job and coast. So it's not really success in my eyes.
They coast and then like they'll like jump. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I'll work. Their game plan is always like, I'll work here for 3 years. If they don't give me bonuses or don't bump up my pay.
It's usually based off of like pay, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't know. That never works for me because I'm that guy that's like ride or die.
Yeah.
If I'm in a bad but that's the thing. I don't jump into something I'm not going to be like 100% in.
And you have to know like. If some shit's not the right situation, then you just gotta leave sometimes.
Right.
But
if like it's not what they cracked it up to be, exactly. But that's me. I'm like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say goodbye. A lot of people like talked to my cousin the other day about this, and she was like, "Oh, they didn't teach me what I'm supposed to learn here, and like I feel like an idiot, this and that." I'm like, "Well, you can always leave." And she was hesitant. She was like, "No, because that would look bad on my resume, this and that. If I get fired, that looks bad, this and that." I got another job offer, but like I would have to. I'm like,
people just make excuses.
Like, are you afraid to fail?
Yeah.
She admitted, yeah. I'm like, why?
I mean, like,
I'm not afraid to. Like that's the thing. I don't plan to fail, but I'm not afraid of failing. You know?
Yeah. I had a friend, like, maybe it was like start of August. She was asking me like for advice, I guess, or just needed someone to talk to because I guess her college was going back in person, like similar to how Kendall's is, and she just hadn't been back in so long that I guess she was just getting anxiety or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was just telling her, like, I mean, you just got to take the leap of faith, go like move back to LA, and then like just make it the best semester you've ever had. Because she's supposed to like finish, I guess, and I was like, just get your shit done that you have to get done, and then enjoy like what you can enjoy because you don't know if you'll ever be back in LA again or whatever. So instead of being afraid to do things, just try and do as much as you can and try out new stuff. Like,
yeah. I was talking because my cousin, she's like a sister to me.
Okay.
Like she's probably one of the closest cousins in my family.
Gotcha.
We don't talk like
all the time, but you just have a good bond.
It'll be like a 3-hour conversation, and like we'll just go off. And like it's funny because like we're so different. We have very similar like. We're very similar, but at the same time, we have such different like mentalities. She's like, I'm trying to plan for my life. I'm like,
you're like, I'm trying to figure out my life.
What do you mean? Like, you try to plan for your life and figure it out. Like, dude, you're 20, because she's about the same age as us.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, you're not even through a quarter of your life, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to plan like the next 70 plus years.
That shit doesn't it doesn't work out, bro. I don't know.
I'm like, dude, like, I plan the day.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this a couple episodes ago where I'm like, I've tried to plan like single days and shit just changes all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the fuck do y'all try to plan 10 years?
Like, plans never go to.
Like, it's cool to be like, okay, I would like to hit these goals along these ways. Maybe, like, I guess sometimes it might be useful to be like, okay, at this age, I want to do something. So it kind of holds you accountable to actually, like, working on it or whatever.
It's a thing of, like, instead of micromanaging your life plan schedule thing, like, just, like,
big
like
picture,
you said, like, set goals. Like, go, like, okay, today I'm going to, like, what are the things I want to do today? Like, that I need to get done. Make sure you get those done. And everything else after that is bonuses. Or, like, extra shit you just got out of the way.
Yeah, like...
Even if it's just like, oh, okay, what are the 3 things I need to do that I really need to do today? Okay, I'm going to make my bed, I'm going to do my laundry, and I'm going to go play basketball. Or I'm going to go do my homework, some bullshit. And then once you get those 3 done, then you feel accomplished because you got the big 3 things you did, that you planned or that you wanted to set for the day. So everything extra, like, oh, now I'm writing in my journal. Or now I'm, like, working on my art. Or now I'm playing this video game with my friends because I have the time. So I'm socializing. No, you just did extra stuff and you feel even more.
Yeah.
Instead of going like, okay, what am I going to do? In 10 years, I'm going to do this. And in 20 years, I'm going to do that. And like, that's cool. I mean, like you said, it's cool to be like, all right, by the age of 30, I at least want to have $5,000 in my bank account. Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a realistic goal. And that seems like doable.
I mean, even if it's not realistic, at least it gives you something that you're like strive. Yeah. Like I think Charles was saying, like the one in our first season, like he had like a date or like an age that he wanted to finish college by or something. So I guess it like holds you accountable. Like, okay, I can't fail classes. Like I gotta actually like or whatever.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you can think of it this way too. Like if I'm gonna go into it, like I'm not gonna fail. Yeah. In the sense of like classes, right? Like. I'm going to do school. I'm going to do it, though. Yeah, I'm not going to do school and fucking toss it aside. Like, that's going to be priority because I'm putting... Yeah. I mean, for me, if I'm putting money into something, I better be fucking passing it. Yeah. Shit, or I better be, like, getting my money's worth. Yeah. Even if I don't pass the class because of rigor or for whatever other reason. Like, at least you learned something or, like, taught you something. Hopefully I take something out. And that even happens because I failed a few classes at ASU. I'm not going to cookie cut that. Like I wasn't the best. But I feel like sometimes failing classes teaches you more than 100%. Because like I knew all the topics. It's just like I had so much other things going on. Yeah. And I learned a lot about just like life in general, dude. Like I was like, oh fuck, like I just put myself in the hole. But now I have something that I have to dig myself out. That's the only thing. It's like, okay, this was my mess I created. Now I got to fix my mess. You know, whatever that means financially, or if I want to keep finishing school, I got to take that class again. You know,
maybe like I don't know if this is like an out there statement, but I feel like girls just plan like a lot more into their life than guys.
It's
I've never really met a dude that was like, I need to get married by this age and have kids by this age kind of thing. But I've heard more girls.
I met someone who was like that. She's like, this is a woman from Arizona. I don't hang out with this person anymore. I don't even
talk to him.
Yeah. We were like friends for like the first month of when we both went to ASU, and that was pretty much it. But she was like, I gotta find a boyfriend by 20. We were both like 20 at the time. Like, all right, if I want everything to go accordingly, I have to find some boyfriend by like 20, 21, 22 at the latest. You know, we have to be dating for at least 2 years before you can propose. And then that means I'd be married by 25 at the latest. Again, this is always like her like latest.
Like range, yeah. Like worst case scenario.
Yeah. She's like, I'm hoping like 23, 24, but 25 is where we're pushing. And then, you know, by 26, or she was like, I want a baby by 25, so I have to at least get married by then. Because I don't want a baby outside of marriage. And I was like, holy shit. It's like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow.
But see, like, the thing with relationships, I'm speaking from someone who's been single, but like...
Yeah, who's never been in a relationship.
But if you push something that's not meant to be pushed, you're just going to end up with, like, red flags all over the place. I feel like that's one of those things that you got to take your time with and not be, like, deadlines on. Like, something you got to let sit for a while, bro.
There's that thing of, like, taking control of everything, and it's like
but
you can't control everything, and you can't control a lot of things.
I mean, I feel like there's some things you have way more control on. I feel like relationships you really don't have that much control over how some shit.
In a sense, you have control
over what you can do. But you can't be like, let's say that you want to get married at 24 and your partner doesn't. Like, you can't fucking, what are you going to do, bro?
Right. Like why? Yeah, exactly. And if they're that partner, then it's like there's either...
Yeah, you either say like, okay, this is a person and I'm just going to wait till they're ready.
Yeah.
Or you say, this is not the person and move the fuck on. Like,
it's like a video game, right? And the game won't start till both players are ready. Yeah. You know, till both players select their characters and press start kind of thing. Yeah. You know? Same thing with marriage. If I'm not... Like, it's a good topic you brought up. Because like, if I'm not ready and she's been ready... Like, it's not happening until both feet are in.
So you gotta accept, like, okay, it's gonna take a while, or I don't have time for it to, and you just move on. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, like you're a really awesome partner, but like we're not the same level, so I gotta move on. Yeah. All right, bet. Sorry. Sorry.
Like it didn't work out. Yeah.
You know, it's like we're just in two different places. You know.
Yeah, like that's crazy how people have like. I mean, I'd rather have a kid relatively younger if I was gonna have kids than if I was way older, like obviously, but like I'm not about to be like
I'm not like, I don't know, I'm too young.
And I also would rather, like, if I was in a relationship, would rather wait a few years before getting married than like 1 or 2 years. But I'm not gonna be like, it has to be 4 years exactly or some shit. Like,
yeah, that's me. I don't know. We'll get into the existential now, but like time is what you make of it, in a sense, right? Like, some people, I don't know.
There's like a saying that like a lot of people like are alive but haven't lived because they just didn't use their time like to actually be in the moment kind of thing. And I feel like you're someone who's just in the moment. So
well, like that's what I was gonna get to. Like, people are always thinking like, I gotta be married by this or this and this because we're running out of time and this and that. But dude, like,
technically you're always running out of time. You don't know when you're gonna be able to do what day. Like, what the fuck?
Time is an illusion.
Like, you could say that and then something could happen tomorrow. Like, you don't know.
Right. Nothing's ever guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right? You could be planning for 25 and you won't even see 25. Yeah, like, sadly. Right? Like, that could be a real scenario.
Yeah. It's like,
and that just makes people even that just makes everyone even sadder.
Or you could just be like, just enjoy your goddamn day.
Right. That's why I don't like telling my plans outside of like 10 years because like, oh, he was planning to do this by 30. Oh, but he died at 28. Man, you know, like now it's just like a tragic story. And he would have done it by 30, but it was 20. Yeah. You know, he had so many goals and ambitions, but
couldn't do it.
But he didn't get to the lifespan to do it. It's like, I don't know. I keep a lot of things personal in that sense because the moment I keep them open, like, you never know what's going to happen. You know, everything's always disorder. You know, you can't control everything. And it just, again, in my experiences, like particularly, it's like you said, mainly women who do try to control a lot of things, at least publicly.
Well, I feel like definitely in terms of like relationship and like kid stuff.
Yeah.
But I think with social media, a lot of people have rushed themselves in a sense. Like they do feel like there's like a time, like an hourglass or something ticking for them to be successful.
Yeah.
But
that's the problem with those things. It's like they give out like this false cognitive or narrative in a sense of like this person's like 20
and is a millionaire or
something. Yeah, this person's 14 and is like the world's biggest TikToker. Like,
yeah, like, and people
who cares? Like, I've seen artists who started at like 60 and like became successful artists at like 80. Like, or even like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You have so much time. Like,
I think the two biggest things people don't consider is how much time someone put into being successful because they feel like it just happened overnight. And also, everyone doesn't start at the same baseline.
Right.
You have different baselines. And for some people, it takes them a long time to figure out what their strength is. So, to me, it's like, as long as you figure it out, like, that, there you go.
Or as long, again, and as long as you're happy with everything.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's always like, you can make $1 million. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, but there's celebrities who've, like, committed suicide. So, it's not
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't get me wrong. If someone said you can make $1 million and it was something I would love to do to make $1 million, I'll be on there. But if it's like you can make $1 million, but you're gonna have to do telemarketing for like 10 years, I'm good. I don't like telemarketing.
Yeah.
And half the time I don't like trying to sell what you guys are trying to sell. Okay? Yeah. So like I'll pass because I enjoy my own sanctity and my own mental health.
Yeah.
Happiness than just trying to make 7 figures.
Or it's like
but that's again, that relies on the fact that I really don't need 7 figures to live. I could live just fine with what I'm doing now, and I do. Now, when like if things change, right? Well, this house got sold, and like my dad moved, and I was living on my own. I still think I could do what I need to do.
Yeah,
I believe I can, and I will. It's just going to be a little different now.
Yeah,
So
like for me, it's like I don't strive for money as the end goal in a sense, like, but I strive for like a balance of like happiness and wealth, I guess, in a sense. Like I have like, when I was a kid, I was like, I want a Ferrari. So I'm like in my head, it'd be nice if I could get one, but if I can't, it's whatever. But like, if I'm happy at the end of the day, like I'll take that.
I'm like I have very good minimalistic. I'm a very big minimalistic through and through. It's like, people are like, oh, I would love to get, like, what's your dream car? And I'm like, I really don't have one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My dream car is the one that'll get me where I need to go.
Yeah, like A to B.
Mm-hmm. It's like, it's never what people think. Because for me, it's honestly like downsizing from a room to living in a van kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Or like, yeah.
Like, oh, I thought you were going to say a Lamborghini or like a, or what was it, C-Class? G-Class? What's this SUV, Mercedes?
S-Class? C-Class? I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like all these like expensive ass like a Bentley Continental. You know what I mean? Like, no. Like, even if I had the money to spend it on that, I don't think I would either.
Yeah.
Because like cars aren't my huge. I like cars. And if I did get a car, it'd probably be a classic anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, honestly, like my dream car right now is like my old high school car. Not my Mustang, but my '94 Blazer.
Yeah,
that thing was awesome. I love that thing. I've been looking online. They don't go for more than they're less than like $8,000. So I could probably get it in the next like
few years. Yeah,
I could get it in probably like if I really pushed, I can get it in like 3 months.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But I have a car right now. I don't need a second car. I need 2 cars for. I can't use them both at the same time.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be the same thing as what I already have because I have a SUV. I have the Jeep.
Yeah.
So, like, the purpose is there. So, if my Jeep took a shit, I'm going to be looking for a fucking '94 Blazer.
Yeah.
Or maybe even older, because we used to have an older one that was pretty sick. But, you know what I mean? Like, my whole, like, perspective on things is so vastly different than, like, what at least social media makes it out to be. Because I see all those, like, motivational quotes, and it's like, it's always about wealth and money. Because that's what controls them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what, like, this world is gravitated towards. If you're not making the money, then you're living like shit. And people will always say that. Like, or then like you'll see like rich people be making those, because I scroll through I used to scroll through a lot of those motivational like
pages,
and it'll turn into like, at one point it'll turn into like money motivation. And then there was always that quote like, oh, like the reason why, or like, don't listen to the guy who's not making $1 million talking about you don't need to make $1 million because they've never been there.
That's why
I don't know if I need to be there though.
Like I know a lot of people don't really like Gary Vee, but he has like that one quote where it's like, I'd rather be happy in a Corolla than be like sad and depressed in a Ferrari.
Oh yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm like that too. Like I had that Gary Vee hype, but like at the same time, like it's kind of diminished a lot, and it's for reasons neither here nor there. Like he has his good moments for sure, but he also has his like hypocritical moments for sure as well. You know, so
that's like the one quote like he said that kind of like stuck in my head that I'm like, I mean, like, end of the day, do you want to at least die happy or like be happy with who you are?
And that's my thoughts at the end of the day too. Every time I'm about to go to bed, I always ask myself, I'm like, if I died, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, would I be satisfied with everything I did? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's never like every day now, like it used to be. It used to be like, no, I still have things I need to do. But no, like if my time cut off right now, you know, like in this moment, would I be satisfied with everything that happened? Yes. Even the shitty parts? Of course.
Yeah.
Because it made me who I am today. Asking always those what ifs would like change your timeline completely. You know what I mean? Like if I was like, oh, if I went to Long Beach State, if I did ask that girl out, we talked about that in a previous episode. If I did ask that girl out, if I did this, if I did go out more, if I did stick with that friend group, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I like who I am.
And I was talking like similar topic with my friend. Because he has like a little bit more regrets. And I'm like, but think about it. If you had that alternate timeline, there might be something in that timeline that's fucked up that was good in this timeline.
Right.
Like, let's say you had all the success, but now you have a horrible relationship with your family. But in this timeline, you have a good relationship with your family. You're not going to have a timeline that's 100% perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to give up something and you don't know what it is. So why bother even like thinking about it?
You know what's cool is what we alluded to in another episode. Was we were talking about anime and like the stigma towards it, and it's starting to like dissipate a little bit more as it's becoming more like
popular,
aware. Like as American culture is more aware to it now.
Yeah,
but like comic books too was in that same bubble, and like they talk about such cool concepts in there that like I don't know, like you'll see the action and everything like that.
Yeah,
if you look beyond, because I always do that with a lot of shows now and a lot of comics and
like just
anime.
Look beyond the surface
like,
level.
I look beyond the action, beyond the like surface, like you said, the superficial surface level stuff. They talk about some crazy concepts that are like really like thought provoking.
Yeah,
and I'm talking like existentially or like philosophically, right? So like in I haven't read this series, but I watched the guy who like narrates them.
Okay,
it's kind of a shout out to him. But the guy's a comic historian. So he'll go through like comic stories and like narrate it. So because I can't, I can start to get access to it now, but it's kind of hard for me to. But it was, which one was it? It was a timeline of DC universe, right? So Superman, Batman.
Yeah.
So it was the Justice League the concept was justice, doom, war, and it led to like the sixth dimension.
Okay.
Right, so like literal sixth dimension, not like I don't know, but like so like fourth dimension is time, fifth dimension is imagination, sixth dimension is beyond imagination.
Yeah.
Right, things you can't even fathom, kind of thing. But like that's a whole concept in and of itself, right? And that's superficial. But like they like dealt with a thing where like they met one of the beings who belonged in the sixth dimension.
Okay.
His name was Altreus, right? And so in the sixth dimension, there's a creator of worlds, there's a destroyer of worlds, and there's a savior of worlds kind of thing, right? And there's a fourth, which was the mother who created those three beings.
Okay.
So, the Earth, right? There's Earth Prime. Right? Earth Prime is like primer, Earth Zero, the very first one.
Got it.
Where like almost in the way I interpret it is like all the anomalies happen. So like you'll see like a comic or you'll see like an episode of Justice League. And everything goes right.
Okay.
right? And that's the anomaly. That's our
so it's like the 1% stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. Like the prime Earth, right? Prime numbers are like
anything
divisible can only be multiplied by 1, right?
Or divisible by itself.
Of that number is 1 in itself. So that's like Earth prime, right? Only 2 instances. That one and one other world off here. But like in those other worlds, all this other shit happens. Like the Flash doesn't save that one person. Superman goes evil, or
Batman, it's all the bad stuff.
Batman's parents don't die in the alleyway, kind of thing, right? But Earth Prime is where all of that happens, and this is the thing. And like it becomes a thing where the multiverse, right? Because they get into multiversal concepts too.
Okay.
Like the multiverse is trying to converge on this and destroy Earth Prime, or Earth Prime is really taking huge shit.
Got you.
So what their idea was to replace Earth Prime and make this utopian Earth Prime. And it was because Earth Prime isn't perfect. Nonsense, right? It's not perfect at all. Everyone still has their faults. There's still people who are alcoholics, this and that. What happens though is like this guy who's literally the world, he creates worlds, creates universes. He's like, okay, yours is going to shit. We'll do a swap. We'll destroy yours to the point where we'll swap them, and then this utopian Earth, this utopian world, will become, the new Prime.
Got you. Okay.
And like that whole concept in and of itself was crazy.
Just having like a perfect world. Yeah.
Well, even the idea.
Oh, just like swapping to.
Well, everything. Yeah. Everything I just discussed is crazy in the sense of like interesting crazy. So it's like now we're dealing with like beyond the fourth, because we're 3-dimensional beings, right?
Yeah.
But like people always allude that time is a 4th dimension, but we can't calculate it, right? Because we can calculate 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
So that's volume. We can calculate 2 dimensions, which is like shapes, lines, segments, connected vectors, and 1 dimension's dots, right? Or single lines, right? Planes, right? So like on a Cartesian like graph, right? 1 line is 1 dimension, 2 lines is 2 dimensions, and then you get Z. 3 lines is, or 3 planes is 3-dimensional, and they always keep conceptualizing time as the 4th, and I agree with it because it makes sense, because time and space are in a sense correlative. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. And then they say 5th dimension is imagination.
Okay.
Which kind of also, again, this is just out of fucking comic book.
Yeah.
Right? So I haven't done any research, and I have, but even then, everything past 3rd dimension is theory.
Yeah.
It can be. It's not fact. It's theory. So like it can be proven
or disproven.
Exactly. So it's pretty crazy because again, we live in time, right? If that's the 4th dimension, we technically are like a 3.5 dimension being in a sense. Or we're a 3rd-dimensional being living in a 4th dimension. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's hard to conceptualize even now.
Yeah, because we're living in time and space,
beings. So having to conceptualize 4-dimensional beings or the 4th dimensional world is hard. Because then, what would that mean for us? We have control of our own time, I don't know. I love looking into that kind of shit. Yeah,
and I think comics is where I really learned the butterfly effect, because I think growing up I never considered I would be oh man, what if this had just happened or whatever. But then watching stuff like The Flash and then seeing
yes,
okay, Barry goes back to save his mom.
Flashpoint.
He goes back to save his mom. But then all this shit gets fucked up.
He saved his mom. X, Y, and Z happened, and they were all terribly negative. So
and I think watching shows like that helped me realize, okay, there's not everything's gonna be perfect, and there's always some shit that could be even much worse.
Yeah. There was so the Doom Justice War, they talked about the Speed Force. That's always a concept in The Flash.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because
that's where he gets his powers.
Everything's always vibrating.
Yeah.
So our skin, our cells, our atoms are always vibrating, but because we're solid matter, they're within its own context. So that's why I can't go through my own hand.
Gotcha,
right?
yeah.
With Flash, he can vibrate his cells fast enough. He can go through solid objects, right? Well, there's an opposing force to every, because the Speed Force is they describe it, it's the 7 forces of the universe, but they're more harmonious, and then they have its counterpart, which is why Earth 2, Earth 3, and Earth 4 can be negative in a sense, right? So let me explain the 6-dimensional beings, right? So there's one who builds worlds, right? He'll build this universe.
Okay.
And then it goes through its process. And if he deems it, or if they all deem it wrong, then he sends it to the dark universe.
Okay.
In that, it goes to one of two guys. One's a good guy, and he's the Monitor. That's his name, the Monitor.
Yeah.
So what he does is he tries to, like, if it's, like, salvageable, he's going to do what he can to salvage it. If it's not salvageable, they send it to the Anti-Monitor. He just destroys it because it takes energy to build these universes.
Yeah.
So the destroyed energy will go right back to the world creator. And then he'll just make another one. Kind of like, okay, 2 just took a huge shit. Destroy it. Now we're going to make, something divisible of 2, but offset. So we'll make it 8, because that's the next number. 8 is an offset of 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Or 3 2s. So we'll see how that goes. Right. And it's interesting because if you get to, like, if you start adding, like, numbers into it, because, like, numbers are kind of crazy.
Yeah, like numerology.
Yeah, numerology, fucking just numbers in general, though. Because, like, right, 2 to the power of 3 is 8, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and this is where I go theory into this shit, where I do my own, like, theoretical shits, because I'm like, okay, 2 to the power of 3. Does that mean, like, the 8th world is, like, just the second world happening again?
Like, yeah.
And it's just repeating itself, or, like, how does it... Again, but this is all theory based on, like, the comics idea. But, again, the beauty of, like, the comics is, like, they're not just, like, slapsticking ideas together.
They're like...
They do research on this shit. They're like, okay, like, the Speed Force is the force of vibrations of everything, and when you can tap into it, you pretty much, in my idea, is like a 4th dimensional being, because you have all access of time.
Yeah.
Right? Time of, like, I can go through this object because it's not there.
Or you could go back in time if you go fast enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think... like, I haven't read the comics, but I know in, like, the more recent Flash episodes, they did go through, like, the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they went as in-depth as the comics do.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy because, like, again, 4th dimension, if the 4th dimension is time, then the Flash can access that time.
Yeah.
It's not that he says he's a 4th dimensional being, but he can tap into it.
Yeah.
So he gets, like, I'm guessing 4th dimensional, like, powers.
Yeah.
Powers that the 4th dimension can access. Because, like, to be honest, he is one of the most OP characters in DC.
I feel like he doesn't get that much credit.
He doesn't, because, like, the way they portray him in, like, the cartoons. Because
he's supposed to be goofy and all this shit. I forget.
And they have to, like...
It's Wally West, but...
Yeah, Wally West is the fastest Flash.
Yeah.
So, but, like, again, like, they have to... Because, dude, if they brought it to this level, like, everyone would be lost in the show. They were like, oh, yeah. Like, they brought... I love this picture, because it was just, like, I could think at an attosecond, which is, like, 10 to the negative.
Yes.
I don't quote me on this, but I know it's more than 10 to the negative 23. It's like 10 to the negative
like 40
or some shit like that. And that's unimaginable. It really is. Like, we can't even calculate that time. We can make a number up for it or a name up for it, but we can't even, like, we can't stopwatch it. We can't even, like, fucking... Like,
you can't measure it.
No.
Yeah.
Like, it's faster than words. It's faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
You know, it's beyond the speed of light stuff. It's crazy. You know, but they can, like, conceptualize it in some sense. Because they do. Because they'll, like, turn it into, like, oh, I could think of 20 million scenarios about 30 days, like years in advance kind of thing, you know? Which is fucking intense. But so I was getting to the topics of, like, opposing forces, right? So the Speed Force and then the Still Force is the opposing topic. So it counteracts the Flash's
instead of, like,
force.
the vibrating, it's just all still.
It's just stillness. And what happens in stillness is entropy. You know what entropy is?
I'm not too familiar.
So the idea of entropy is a thermodynamics, I believe, thermodynamic topic.
Okay.
So it's the idea that if, like, something is in a still state for long enough, like, then in that still state, disorder starts to become a higher variable.
Okay.
Right? So, like, if something is standstill for X amount of times, the longer it's in that standstill, like, there's more things that we may not know about. There's more unknowns that may come out of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, there's more. I forget what the other 6 are, but they're pretty fucking crazy.
The other forces?
Yeah, because there's, like, that. So Green Lantern, right? Green Lantern is the emotional spectrum.
Okay.
Right, so, like, there's the Green Lanterns, Green Lanterns of willpower, Red Lanterns of rage, the orange is avarice or greed, yellow is fear, Indigo is compassion. Blue is hope, and then not ultraviolet.
Is it purple?
It's the star sapphires. But yeah, because they're called the star sapphire course. But yeah, I think it's pink.
Oh, okay.
Pink or purple. But they're love, and then you have white and black, which is white is life, black is death.
Gotcha.
And then the opposing force to that is the invisible spectrum, which is just one. It's ultraviolet, which is pretty cool. I forgot how they explained that one. It was so it's emotions. I think it's like it was either the emotions you don't portray or like your like subconscious emotions.
Okay, like the things you can't see, basically, or not like you can't see, but you.
I think it's like your inherent feelings, like that you're trying to like
hide.
That one was an interesting one. What was another one? Well, before we keep pausing too long on this topic, like it's just interesting because like, you learn stuff through things you think are like child stuff.
Well, yeah, like I feel like I know in the movies they don't like do the science 100% correct or whatever.
No, they never do.
But like at least the concepts make you think about things that you probably have never thought about. Especially like when you involve like Iron Man and he's building this crazy shit, or Doctor Strange and like all of that stuff.
Yeah,
like
think about the invisible spectrum because now I just have it up here. It feeds on the buried primal emotions. So yeah, like your subconscious, like deep down buried, like I don't hate, but like you secretly do kind of shit.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest one that they like pull out of, right? And each like emotion has its own like entity based off of. Like, I know parallax is like for fear, and ion is for like will, and they have like
a bunch
for each one.
Yeah.
Right? Umbrax is for the invisible spectrum, which is again the color of ultraviolet, which I'm pretty sure we can't see ultraviolet light unless we have like
it's too harmful.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason why they made
the invisible spectrum. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the next one is the life force, and its counterpart is the tier of extinction, which is like the death force, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything I missed in it. These tests fell off. So it's like connecting yourself to all of life, kind of thing.
Okay.
So like in the sense
like nature.
Yeah. So like they used Aquaman for it. So like
that makes sense. He's in the water. Yeah.
Aquatic animals, but he's in a sense connected to everything. He's just more in tune with the animals of the aquatic. And then the tiers of extinction can kill anything, even gods. Like gods are not. Like they don't go to. It's weird. In the comics they didn't get sent to like they don't die. They just get sent to like this. They call it the void wind.
Okay.
Or this realm. It's almost like a void, which I think they try
like
to
a black hole kind of thing.
Than death. Kind of
thing.
You know, like you're neither alive nor dead. You're in this.
You're in limbo.
Exactly.
You know, this is like totally random, kind of. I guess it's like tied into Justice League. But another person who doesn't get that much like love or credit is Martian Manhunter. They just toss him out, and I'm just like, bro.
In the
comics,
in the TV show, he gets hella shit on, but dude, he's just as strong as Superman.
Yeah, I was like, people don't understand this man is strong as fuck.
But so because it was like a long series that leads into like this darker
for Doom, right?
Yeah, so it goes like the Justice of Doom, and then they try to awaken because. Let me get through the forces first, and then I can get back into that. So then the next one is the Sphere of the Gods and the Void Wind. So again, that deals with like the new gods who take over in the sense, and then the Void Wind is where it ties in with like the tiers of extinction and the life force.
Okay.
So those are like coexist in a sense. It's the graveyard of the gods is what they call that area.
Like that void.
Yeah. And then so the dimensional superstructure. And the sixth note, those are counterparts with the dimensional superstructure being... it governs all things imaginable and unimaginable and is part of the harmonious forces. And that's where the sixth dimensional beings, the Monitor, Alpheus, and Mobius, which I believe is the Anti-Monitor. That's where they reside within them. And then the sixth note is part of the seven hidden forces. I guess they don't talk about it much, which is true because I don't remember them discussing that force like is very vague. The collective unconscious, and then the black apple. So when I think of that, I just think of like Adam and Eve.
Okay.
Instead of like the apple that connects everybody and that gives you the knowledge, right? The unconscious collective. The black apple that severs that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just says literally the opposite of the collective unconscious. So severs you from the collective. And I believe it tied in with like solipsism. So you know what solipsism is, right?
No.
So solipsism is I want to say philosophical, but it's like a nihilistic philosophical idea that like you yourself are the only thing that's real in the world, and everything else around you is not.
Okay, that makes sense.
Crazy. So like
you just think everything else is like
a figment of your imagination. Okay, that's one way to conceptualize it, right? So like because I can only see through my eyes, and I can only use my mind to think, and I can't know what you know or see what you see, or I have no idea of everything else around me. It's all a figment of my imagination.
Yeah.
I'm the only thing guaranteed to be real because I know I'm real.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So that's solipsism. It's, like I said, it's pretty nihilistic. Brushed up on his philosophy. Yeah, I think we learned that in philosophy. And then the last one is faithfulness and faithlessness, which we don't have to go into because that's pretty like
standard.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. So. So you were talking about Martian Manhunter. So Martian Manhunter in this series, and in because it's a whole series from, like I said, the Do Justice War, Do More. Because that's I forgot the anti-crisis and crisis energies are like the biggest like concepts that they deal with in this.
Okay.
So like the more crisis energy built up, it'll spawn the creator of everything, which was, I think they called her, I don't want to say mother, but I think like that was one of her aliases. But she was like, she spawned everything. She created the 3 6th-dimensional beings. That's her sons.
Okay.
Herself being a 6th-dimensional being.
Yeah.
And with that, she was like building it for like like there's something even beyond her, right? Like the judges of the
universe.
They just call it the judges.
Okay.
Yeah, but like it's beyond the universe, right?
Yeah.
The judges. So she was trying to like, in a sense, usurp them by creating this like almost like never-ending world that would always. It was like a vampire world in a sense that would like, or universe that would just, or multiverse. Because they were dealing with multiple multiverses.
Yeah.
Now. So hers was going to be one that would just like it was a predator multiverse. There you go. Where it would take the power of the other one, right? Because when one multiverse dies out, that energy goes off somewhere else. Usually goes to the world creator to create a new multiverse. But she was siphoning it into that one that she was just making just straight badass.
Yeah.
To like create an army. I'm guessing. Create this army to like go against everything but she was foiled, and then they couldn't kill her, so they like imprisoned her, and that's the whole premise of that, is that she escaped, which led into another series which was called Death Metal, which was it was a pretty good one because it's like a really dark twist on DC. Like DC already has like dark.
It's pretty dark, yeah.
But like it makes it even more dark. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I feel like DC definitely gets into more. Like, I don't want to say like adult topics, but I guess like compared to Marvel, it's not all like happy-go-lucky type of thing. Like,
neither is Marvel. It's hard. It's funny when people say that, but the thing is like DC focuses more solely on Earth, and like, Marvel goes like to planetary, interplanetary. It goes beyond. Like they sent Hulk to a new world. That world comes back and tries to rule Earth. And then, Guardians of the Galaxy, then you have Thanos. I mean, I don't know. They're very
they're different,
It's like...
I would just say it's like, I guess...
Depends on the comic you read.
Yeah.
Because you have the Killing Joke, right? You have the Joker.
And
then people thought that was dark, and then you read these ones, and it's like dark in its own right.
Yeah.
And then like... you got like Old Man Logan, which was really dark.
Yeah.
Similar
for
to
Wolverine,
like, Killing Joke, but in its own way, too.
Even like for Spider-Man, his story's not like amazing either. Like he lost his grandpa or like his uncle.
And then he also Gwen Stacy eyes and like the original Spider-Man. But it's funny because they did a reboot in DC called the New 52.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So
that's based off of a Flashpoint, though, right?
So that's based off Flashpoint tying into Justice League.
Yeah, because Flash tried to run back in time, but then some shit happened.
Yeah, so he runs back in time to save his mom, and he comes back to his present time to see what happens. Realize he fucked it up. Kept doing it to try and fix his mistakes,
but it can make it worse.
And just made things kind of even more crazy. So I forget how it resolves, but it turns into Christ. I forget what the series is called, but it turns into its own Justice League series, or it's Crisis. There's a few of them, but Crisis was one of them, and it pretty much what I was talking about, where the multiverses were converging on each other. It did that where it took 52 multiverses that they knew of in existence, and it just collaborated into one. So everything's technically canon, but at the same time in its own different
section.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's hard to explain well. And now the New 52 is a reboot, literally, and in the canonical world. Everything in the past is canon. But it's now here's this big jumps, here's this big space of nothingness, and now we're on the 52.
Yeah.
And everything after that is going to be all canon of its own circle,
Yeah, I always, I like because I'm, like I mentioned, I haven't read as much as the comic books. The TV shows tried to integrate some of this stuff into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting whenever Flash is just I'm going to go back in time. I'm bro, you're going to fuck everything up.
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite.
Earths,
what I believe it's called.
Series. They did a little series on that where they incorporated Arrow and all the other Superwoman or Supergirl and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel there's a lot of concepts that people just don't recognize, or they just don't take the time to look into.
Overlook, yeah, for sure they do, because they'll even in comics, I guarantee you, Kendall's there's guilty of it in some aspect.
Yeah.
Because he's bright, he'll pick up on some of them. But I feel you're just totally just
yeah. There's just so much too in comics. Sometimes you do need a couple reads to really figure out what's going on.
Or you gotta, because for me,
or you just read. Yes,
you read knowing or looking
for certain things. Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird because again, they have that freedom to do it without feeling idiots in a sense, because when you talk about something of that caliber of fourth dimension beyond, no one knows.
Yeah.
So they could write what they write, and it could be true.
Yeah, or it could
be totally wrong, and it's just a comic. You know what I mean? But because we have no we can always speculate, and scientists, physicists, biologists in the realm of biology, chemistry, right? They can all speculate as much as they want, but we don't have any fact on it. We can't. Yeah. Until we get to that level.
It's when we're little, I feel people have more imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So reading comics and stuff and learning these concepts is it's cool and stuff, but I feel as people get older, they lose their creativity or their imagination.
Yeah.
And then they start to be oh, all this comic stuff is nonsense or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's you just have to keep your mind open to different things. You don't know if it's true or not true, but sometimes it's just cool to be what if it was true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I talked about this in an earlier episode, but I'm pretty sure I've said this to you guys, just maybe off camera, off mic. But I watch a lot of animes and and I read a lot of comics, not because of the story for sure and the plot, but it's because of what it's trying to portray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a show called Misfit of Demon King Academy.
I've heard you guys mention it before. Yeah,
but they take a concept of this king who's a half breed, and so he's disdained in society, but he knows he's the demon king, and the portrayal that demons are evil and humans are good, and it gets flip flopped.
Yeah,
the demons aren't evil; they're just different. Humans are spiteful because of their past, so that's why they become evil, because of the hatred they carry.
Revenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So. It's pretty cool. I love, and it's hard to portray that in live action.
Yeah,
I don't know. They just don't. I don't know if they do it well. There's one show that did it in a sense kind of well, and that's called The 100. But that was they only did it towards the end, and towards the end it got so convoluted with
that
like,
you couldn't tell what was going.
Yeah. But like they kind of was like, oh, it was a whole like this whole thing was a test, and like if you passed, you would be able to access a higher consciousness. You know, because they were at the end of the series, and this is definitely spoilers if anyone's watching it. Same with comic one. I don't know, because like I didn't explain it like PG, and I was just talking about the concepts within the story.
Yeah, but they've been around for a while, so
I was only talking about the characters in there. I don't really talk about the plot of
the actual comic. Yeah.
But for this, I'm going to talk about the plot because it ties in with the concept I'm about to talk about. But so the premise, I'll give you try to make the premise as short as possible. But so like 100, or Earth gets nuked or like goes to like apocalyptic world where no one can even live on it, or that's how it goes.
It's inhabitable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they take like a generation ship up to space to like wait it out, kind of like in WALL-E, right? Wait it out and come back. So they have the same idea. But, you know, they had like, oh, it's going to be X amount of years, and we haven't reached X yet. So what do we do? Well, we're running out of supplies, and the generation ship's not going to last forever, and we're getting thinned out. We're limited on resources. So everyone who committed a felony under the age of 18, they wouldn't get, floated. So floating is like they'd send them out into space to literally die, right? They would just keep them prisoners. So anyone who was like a minor would be sent into like a prison cell where they got even less limited resources than they already did. And then they got to the point where they're like, okay, we got to get rid of them. We have 100 of them, and if we get rid of them, we can live like a few years longer. So they ship them down to Earth to see if it's habitable. So like two birds, one stone. We have more resources up here. They can see if it's inhabitable down there. So if it is, then we could go down there and like restart society. So they go down there and they find out, and they survive. They find out that it's been inhabited like most of the time. Like there's always, and then it's divided by like different groups of warriors.
Yeah.
And then that's how the plot goes on. Is like the humans come down, and then it's a thing of like they call them the space crew. Because there's like tree crew, ice crew, based on like what region they're living in, what climate they're living in. But it comes to a thing of like trying to find like harmony within the group.
Yeah. Within the 100 people.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it becomes that, and then it gets to like another apocalyptic world, and then it becomes like AI gets involved.
Yeah.
In the end, it's like okay, this whole thing was a test to see if the human race was ready to reach the next, to transcend, right? Higher level of consciousness, you live forever, this and that, and like they failed technically, but they did at the same time because the plot, plot. But it was like an interesting concept to think about, because like how did we get here? You know what I mean?
I think one movie that's kind of like that, but isn't fully like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's Elysium.
Elysium?
Yeah. Where they have like the Earth's basically fucked, right? And then they have like all these rich people go into like the moon and shit.
Yeah, they colonize the moon. Yeah. And like all the rich, they have technology where like
you can heal yourself in like 5 seconds.
You can literally be like a speck of a cell, and you can regenerate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they they conquer it. Small group conquers it just to save one person.
Yeah.
Plot. But yeah.
But it was like that concept was interesting, like, and even like stuff like anime gets into like things that we think are like not possible, or like because there's like animes where people are like sort of online where they're integrated into like the VR and they get stuck or whatever. And like people probably think like that shit's never gonna happen, but like slowly we're developing like VR and shit like that. So it's like interesting to see like.
You know what was interesting about that was no one really knew if taking off the helmet would kill them or not.
Yeah, they just assumed.
It could have been the biggest bluff ever.
Yeah.
And if they all took the helmet off, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because like it was, he created it, that designed it that way, and it could have been true, and it probably was, but at the same time, it's like Schrodinger's cat. You're in this state of like nothingness, in a sense.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word so I use nothingness, but like you're not dead or alive. You're in a superposition.
Okay.
State of alive and dead. And until you remove the helmet, you won't know. And everyone in the game was too afraid to do that, so they turned that into their reality. Which was interesting because even if you look at Black Mirror, they do the same thing with a bunch of shit.
Different episodes. Yeah.
I love
with like all the tech, you know.
I love Black Mirror for that. Like for some reason people didn't like season 4.
I've only seen up to season 3.
Yeah, so season 4 only has 3 episodes.
Oh, okay.
But like I understand. I think I can understand why, and it might be wrong, but like it's mainly plot based reasons. But like again, I look at it based on like, oh wow, like what if like these are things to think about.
Yeah.
This level of technology advancement.
I think shows like Black Mirror and like even anime that like get into more tech stuff just make you like, okay, what would happen if this was?
Even Isekais.
Yeah.
Because like, what does happen after that?
Or like even if it's something that's not probable or whatever, like there's usually some moral thing that like challenges like your moral thinking or whatever.
Oh, the biggest one that's always done, and it's always done but always overlooked, is like there's bad guys on the good side and there's good guys on the bad side.
Yeah.
Right? It's not black and white. It never is. There's always one guy that's like, I don't think this is right, but because of compromise of
like he did something wrong for the right reasons to like for like Itachi, for example, like
exactly.
It's you can't deem him as good or bad, like
right. Or like it's always subjective.
Yeah,
like someone's gonna say, "Oh, this was evil because he killed a bunch of people," but the people who
like how many lives did he save by killing these people? Like
right, exactly. Yeah. On the beneficiary sides, they're like, "Oh no, he did this right because this."
Yeah, and it's like, what were his true intentions? Like, did he want a better world or like?
And that's like history and war, you know, because when we get into those topics, it becomes a thing of like, okay. Like the Britons don't see themselves as the bad guys, but the Americans do, and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So history is there's always a bias to history, depending on who wrote it, right? Because like in American history, they're gonna,
do it from American perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. This is why they did it, and like it's not wrong.
It's just from the conqueror's perspective instead of being
the
conquered.
Winner's perspective, and that's the thing. Like it's not wrong sometimes, but a lot of times you can see a lot of propagated bias in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like let's say someone got in like a car accident. Like the person who hit the car is going to have one perspective. The person who got hit is going to have a perspective. And someone who just was like randomly watching has a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So until you can like
put all of them together.
And that's why you can't learn history from just one side.
You got to see all sides.
Yeah. And that's like World War II, like you should at least like if you're trying like for an instance, like if you were trying to learn what happened in the Pacific War, right, the war in the Pacific, Japan and America, like you're gonna have to understand the Japanese's perspective.
Yeah. Right?
Because like, it started at Pearl Harbor. Why did they bomb Pearl Harbor? And then you gotta go into you just keep going down the rabbit hole.
This is like, I guess it's related, but like that's why like Hitler's book is kind of interesting because you get to see his like. Why did he want to do it? Or like where was he coming from?
Are you talking about Mein Kampf?
Yeah.
I want to read it. I do, just because like again it's history. And it like helps piece together what's been going on.
Yeah, like you won't get, I'm sure like reading it's not going to make you be like, oh, I know exactly what he was thinking, but at least you'll get like a glimpse of like who he kind of was, I guess.
Yeah. Because I mean the thing was, and this is like the basic biography of him, he was a failed art student who lived in, I think he was from Austria.
Okay, yeah.
And then moved to Germany, joined the National Socialist Party before it became the Nazi Party. And then he got jailed. I remember he gets jailed, and then he gets out, and then he starts running it because he was so involved. And I think it was in prison he wrote Mein Kampf.
Yeah, okay. He did write Mein Kampf in prison. Okay, that's for sure.
Yeah, so he did that, and then then he gave like such passionate speeches and started running it so well. In a sense, and this is again like, my own interpretation, it became his own piece of art.
Yeah,
a failed artist who learned the art of running
or like
dictatorship in a sense,
or even in a sense like just the art of like speaking, or like just a way to get like enamor people with the words in a sense. He just
yeah. Well, I mean, like what he was saying, because I don't know German and I don't remember exactly, but based on what we learned was that like his ideas was eugenics. So like eugenics was like making the best humans possible.
Yeah.
And he was going to do that with the German race because he believed the German race had the best humans inherently, right? So like it's not a bad idea, especially when you tell that to the group. You know what I mean? Like if I came to this group and was like, "You guys are going to be the best generation," all right, we believe it because we're gonna believe that. So we fall in line, and then it became something beyond. Yeah, that ties in with like psychology of like you've seen this I want to say it was, I forget his name. I don't want to butcher it because I want to say Lombardo, but I'm pretty sure that's football.
Yeah, that is football.
But the Stanford prison experiments. Do you remember that? You remember learning about that in high school?
I remember hearing about it. I can't remember.
Well, it's like giving people their positions and power, and then like seeing what they do with it. Yeah. And what they learned was that everyone who became like prison, like they were all college students, and they were like kind of role playing, but they took it serious. And they were abusing like the prisoners.
The power. Oh yeah.
Like beyond their like it was like absolute like authority.
Humanity, yeah.
So and it was very and like they have some videos. They had to cut it short, and like they got defunded. I think the experiment got defunded too because of how like
crazy
it became, which is interesting like on a psychological level. Yeah. Like because people always say like, and again now I'm getting back to philosophy. But like people with power, a lot of people with power are going to abuse it, and that was like what was shown in that like experiment. And then you'll get like your one diamond in the roughs, like Marcus Aurelius. I don't know because I wasn't born in that time, but like from what it seemed like, and he was part of, I think it was the 5 great leaders of Rome. I don't know if that was like the actual title, but there's something of that title where like during like his period of leaderships and like the people predating him and succeeding him. Yeah. Like it was like a great time for Rome, and like it was where the leaders were at their best, and he was one of them, and he believed in the philosophy of Stoicism. So that's like, I mean, you've heard the word Stoic, like some Stoic, you're like, but Stoicism like pretty much follows that like adjective, in a sense, but takes it to like the extremes of like like I'm going to take things as they are, like. I'm
like
not
at face value.
Things affect me. Yeah. Everything that I can control within my realm, I'll control. Everything out of my control, I'm not going to get upset about because it's out of my control. Yeah. So I've always there was always that love of that from him, from me because it was
makes sense. Yeah.
It made perfect sense. Like and I started piecing the dots, and it's funny like all the most important books that I've read are always like 50 pages, 60 pages. Yeah. Like he has a book called Meditations, and it's like 100 plus pages, less than like 150 pages, give or take. Yeah. And literally he just repeats the same thing over and over again until you get the message kind of thing. Same with like The Art of War. Yeah. Like that book's like 60 pages long. I read it all the time.
It's not about the length, it's about being concise and getting to your point.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like really, but that's the thing is like things are so simple until you want to make them more complicated. Yeah. Like when you have to write, like people who write 1,000-page books, hopefully it's a novel or a history book. Yeah. But if it's like something like that, it has to be concise, or else you lose your audience.
Yeah, they get tired of reading.
Yep. Oh, so back to solipsism. So the idea that like, it's just so like I get to this like, our brains are like supercomputers, right? So they compute in their own way to a very like intellect, like a level beyond our even comprehension yet. But it's weird to think about the fact that like we came from nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in terms of numbers, we started as 0.
And then we just became 1. Yeah.
And it became 1 somehow. And that gap from 0 to 1 just always like
mind-boggling. Yeah.
I don't know how. No one knows. But like, and everyone always tries to figure it out. Yeah. But just like contemplating it. Like just the idea that
like what could have happened,
like not even what happened, but how it happened. Yeah, how we became nothing to something. Like what
were the steps? Yeah,
what, and then you can work your way backwards too. Like if something put that in motion, what created that thing, and then you can keep going backwards, or you can, and it's like now we're 7 billion, but technically one consciousness in a sense, and like it's still crazy. It's like that's really the numbers we deal with, and then computers. That's how computers compute now, right? Zeros and ones. Yeah. So it's I don't know, like you can like break down the world into anything, into numbers, into
you can simplify ideas. It, or like you said, you can complex it as much as you want. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll always stop at 1 and 0.
Yeah.
Right.
Binary.
Are we nothing, or are we something, or You know, that's really how it goes.
Like something on or off. Like
yes. And who turned the on switch, off switch? Again, I'm going to say the same thing, and then you go, all right. So if someone did turn that on off switch,
who made that?
Who made that?
Yeah.
And then who made? Oh, someone else made them. Who made that?
Yeah.
Oh, it started with the Big Bang. Well, how was the Big Bang created? So there has to be some form of anomaly in there. You know, some they call it like during like bosons, and they're doing the hadron colliders came up with the concept of like the God particle.
Yeah.
Which is that like potentially that concept of like here's this God particle that sparks everything. That was boom. So
it's what set everything into motion, kind of thing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I know nothing.
You don't. Yeah.
We know nothing. Like if you think you know something, you do. But at the end of the day,
it's theory. Yeah.
But I love talking about it. It's always so fun to pick those brains. But yeah, this was if you lost track, this was definitely an out of the box episode.
For sure. Yeah, we dove into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I like it. It's just like a nice mind dump.
Yeah.
But on that note, and with that out of the box experience, it's your boy Maui.
And your boy Bambi.
And this is Couch Surfing.
Peace.